Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be checking out Action Comics issue 1061 by Jason Aaron and John Timms. This is the beginning of the Superstars initiative that Action Comics is trying out with a revolving set of writers and artists like Jason Aaron, Mark Waid and Joshua Williamson, all who are getting 3-issue arcs in the first half of 2024. Aaron's debut issue, which is the first time he's writing a proper in-continuity book for DC, sees BIZARRO invades Xerox, the realm of the magicians and sorcerers, looking for something, and he finds it alright as he's imbued with mystical powers. A few weeks later, he brings said power to Earth Zero, where he and Superman battle across the entire solar system before he tries to unleash some magical trinkets he stole from Xerox, and during the battle, Superman learns that BIZARRO's entire world is completely gone, a casualty in one of the many crises since we last saw him, and he is trying to bring it back. And I really like what Aaron does with BIZARRO here, in that in just a brief moment at some point in his life, he had a semblance of a thought, an actual, cognitive function happened in his brain, and he acted on it. And there were parts in the story where he didn't even know why he was doing this. He knew that something in his mind worked once, and he's just sort of following on from that. And I thought that was a really interesting way to go about portraying BIZARRO. On top of that, Aaron has a really unique way of writing Superman, in that 90% of the book it's not done by the usual inner monologue or from Clark's perspective like we've seen in the past, but it's almost done from a being who's kind of chronicling this story, almost like Aaron himself is part of the book telling us about Superman's metropolis and this big epic fight. It's going to take a minute to get used to, especially since Philip Kennedy Johnson and Williamson really only used the first person monologue stuff in their books. It was all really from Clark's point of view or like another character's point of view. However, this does give the book a very epic feel, like Aaron's Thor book had. That did a lot of this sort of stuff, with someone sort of telling this story to someone after it happened. It happened a long time ago and someone's regaling someone around a campfire about this story. It's a very storybook feel to it. John Timms, who's no stranger to the Superman family, lends his bold and colourful artwork to the book as well, giving it a fantastic over-the-top sci-fi magic feel. The early fight with BIZARRO and him battering Superman across the entire solar system is given proper scope and just looks amazing. The early stuff as well in the first couple of pages on Xerox was great as well. The only downside is a lot of it is covered in big speech bubbles that kind of obscure a lot of the art, which is a shame since all the designs for the Xerox magicians and the battle mages all looked really cool. I would also like to give props to the colorist Rex Locus for giving the book a real vibrant feel, and it made Tim's work leap off the page. As I said earlier, I really liked how Aaron is writing BIZARRO, and I like even more so that he has Silver Age comic book strength and powers. Like he can punch someone right across the solar system and puts him on equal footing with Superman intelligence wise too, and that's quite interesting as well, since a smart BIZARRO is never a good thing for anyone, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Superman deals with that as a threat over the course of the next 2 issues. Aaron is also sure to bring up the idea that he isn't the only BIZARRO Earth Zero has dealt with, and there have been quite a few, and some are still even around. And with how the book ends, it also looks to be setting out to make this BIZARRO the quote-unquote #1 again, which will be interesting since we also have a BIZARRO turning up in a upcoming Suicide Squad Dreamer book. So I'll be interested to see if other writers are going to follow on from this story and respect what Aaron is building here and sort of relegate that other BIZARRO, which is the one that's kind of been kicking around since like the New 52 sort of, whether they relegate him to like a nuller status or something. I'm intrigued to see what they do with him. One thing that is absent from the book completely is the Superman family, since during Philip Kennedy Johnson's run on the book, they were at the forefront, a huge part of Superman's story and life in Metropolis now, yet here they are nowhere to be seen, and I hope that's not indicative of this Superstars run, or whatever these other writers are doing, that the family doesn't go away, and I hope that they are part of stories. I do obviously get that Superman can have his own solo adventures. He had them for, 80 odd years before these family members started cropping up, but you would think that they would make an appearance to help out, being that it's in Metropolis. Every other appearance they've had have been in Metropolis. You know, it kind of makes sense that they would appear at some point in the story. On the flip side of this, if thanks to how Aaron is ending this first part of the story with Superman possessed by BIZARRO, it's teed up for the family to swoop in to save the day and save Clark, as well as whatever BIZARRO did to the world. Another thing I wasn't too keen on, and I mentioned it briefly before, was kind of the word salad that happens at the front of the issue when we're on Xerox. There's huge panels just filled with balloons and balloons and balloons of words, and it just feels like there's so many words that didn't need to be there. And again, it's one of those things where they're kind of over explaining some sort of new concept, want to get it right across, and I really understand that. I understand wanting your audience to understand what you're writing about, and these new concepts can be pretty tricky, especially when it comes to magical stuff within the DC universe. But there's only so many words you can use before it sounds like you're just kind of waffling on a little bit, and that's what I thought the front half of the issue was. Once we got BIZARRO in Metropolis and he's fighting Superman, the book really flowed really well. It had some great dialogue from Superman. I like the sort of other person chronicling this event and the stuff that made it sound very epic and everything. It's just those first couple of pages really lay on the story thick, and that might be a detriment to some people, especially if people are going to be picking up this run as, you know, a new run, since it's a new writer, a new sort of direction for the book. I could see that being a sort of gate that they will have to get through in order to enjoy the book a little bit more. All in all, Jason Aaron's first Superman issue was pretty cool. I like the ideas he's setting up with BIZARRO now being a proper enemy of Superman and not just sort of a joke enemy he fights every now and then when you need a little bit of humor in the book. I like the use of magic as a weapon that BIZARRO is utilizing against Superman, and the effects that has on BIZARRO, with him basically becoming a Silver Age Superman, and he can do all these amazing feats, and I hope we get to see a bit more of that, especially because it gives John Timms some amazing action sequences to work with like he did in this issue. I do hope as well that Aaron does not forget the Superman family and all of the amazing characters that Philip Kennedy Johnson, Joshua Williamson, and all the writers before them had a hand in helping create and fill out the Superman family of Metropolis, since they have been a mainstay of this book for a long time, and I really hope they don't go away and hope we get to see them a little bit more, and I'd like to see Aaron's take on some of these characters as well. I'm going to give this issue an 8.5 out of 10. Definitely check it out if you are new to Action Comics. It might be a little bit wordy at the beginning, but I promise you it is very much worth it.